Some of you are experiencing this right now where you have left the narcissist, but yet you don't know what you like. You don't know what looks good on you. You don't know what feels good on you anymore. And so, what you end up finding yourselves doing is critiquing yourself according to the narcissist, which is going into number one. You're going to have to remind yourself on what and how you viewed yourself before you was with the narcissist. So look at a picture of yourself before you was with the narcissist. Look at that person. A lot of times you would look at that picture and be like, oh my God, I see this person. They were so happy. They were so secure. You would have all of these words about yourself of how you were before you ended up with this narcissist. And sometimes it can bring some negative emotions like sadness, depression, just a bunch of emotions of tears, because you'd be like, I was so such a different person compared to what I am now. But here's the thing, that picture can be a reminder of going back to that person and even someone better than who was in that person. Because you have to remind yourself that narcissists, they're insecure people, say they make their victims insecure as well by projecting their thoughts and their opinions onto you to make you feel what it is that they're feeling. And so some of you is really living the lies of what this narcissist truly feel for themselves. Okay. The next, number two, is you're going to remind yourself or remember what you loved about yourself before the narcissist. One of the things I absolutely loved about myself was I loved that I liked working out. I liked my body structure. I liked my hair. I just really liked my overall appearance. I never felt like I was a person who needed to put on makeup. I never felt like I was a person who needed to do like a whole bunch of stuff to myself, because I really loved who I was and who God created. Even though I wasn't really, I would say, I guess, really, really close to God. Yes, I grew up in the church. I was raised in the church. But looking back, I never viewed myself as a person who needed to put on all this eyeliner, a person who needed to put on, and do different colors to her hair. I never felt like I was this person. But what I realized after leaving these relationships, that I started wearing eyeliner. I realized that I started making myself keep my nails done. I realized that I would keep my toes polished. I realized that there were just certain things that I would do to make myself look different. And really, what I was doing, thank you, Holy Spirit, was I was trying to cover and trying to mask the pain that was going on inside of me to make me feel good, to look good, so I can get compliments from men, especially when I would go out to the clubs. I'll put on this tight outfit. I'll put on, I never really overdid the makeup. It would be like eyeliner, eye mascara, eyeshadow, some little shiny lip gloss. That would pretty much be it. I never really did foundation, but I would put these on, and I would be with the intention on someone's going to buy me a drink. Someone's going to pay for me to get into this club today. This was my intention. And I went through a season after I left these relationships. I went through a season where it was probably like 3 or maybe 4 months. I don't know. It was a pretty lengthy time where I wore no makeup. I wore no nails. I wore no nail polish. I pretty much did. I just had to re-love the person that God created. And it was a struggle. I realized that I was having problems with leaving the house without eyeliner. I realized that I felt like I was being stared at and looked at, when I did not wear these things. I was very insecure. And so over the time, after the end of these, 3 to 4 months of doing this, I began to be secure in who it was that God had created. And some of you can relate to this, to where you feel like you can't leave the house without your wig. You feel like you can't leave the house without, for you guys, maybe a fitted shirt and some nice Jordans or something. You feel like you have to look a certain way to be accepted, when really you need to, I'm gonna say it this way: you need to devalue these items and value what God have already created. And so you have to let go of these things so that you can love you again and love who God have created. And